The View is live. Follow the leaders. Powerful figures from Hillary Clinton to music superstar Brandi Carlile pull out of a women's summit for inviting Trump's former Homeland Security chief, Kirstjen Nielsen. Will others follow? And is this move bad for the country? Guest co-host Newt Gingrich hits Hot Topics to reveal why he says Democrats have been on a mission to impeach Trump since day one, and why Joe Biden's the one who needs to worry about a corruption scandal. Topics is in session with Whoopi, Abby Huntsman, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and Meghan McCain. Now, let's get things started.
Megan's on vacay, Joy's out sick today, so joining us as guest co-host, please welcome former Speaker of the House, stop that, and author of the new book, You Know Who versus China, facing America's greatest threat, Newt Gingrich. Welcome. I don't think you've done this with us before.
I've never been a co-host. I just want to promise everybody we have a great actor coming later on, Ed Norton. I'm not that kind of actor. I'm going to try to channel Joy and do what I can so she won't be too embarrassed to have me sitting here.
No one better to fill her seat today.
So let's start with this, because before we went on the air this morning, you know who in the White House continued his rant against impeachment hearings, but he's not calling it a witch hunt anymore. Republicans must remember what they are witnessing here, a lynching. Well, it's a word that nobody, wants to hear. This was not a good choice of words for him, do you think?
Well, it's exactly the same term that Clarence Thomas used when he said he was guilty of a white-collar lynching.
Right, but was it right then?
Oh, I think it was right then, sure. I mean, I think, look, put yourself, and this is really a big leap, but put yourself for a second in Trump's shoes. Okay, you got beaten up for over 2 years. You got beaten up for over 2 years with the Mueller thing. You start to relax. All of a sudden, there's this whole new wave of things. And I think part of what you have is a guy here who's just really deeply frustrated that no matter where he turns, the fight keeps going on.
But doesn't he bring a lot of this on himself?
Sure.
Can't you look in the mirror and say, I'm causing this too?
Look, I am very much... I much more than you all, I think he's actually an important historic figure, but I do think there are things he does that make it all harder. And I think that, at times I think that if he were more disciplined, he would actually have a much easier road than he does, because he sort of chews up his own road as he goes down it.
It seems like he enjoys it though, like it's a game for him. I think about the G7 summit, hosting it at his Doral resort. In his mind, do you think it's a game to piss off the media, to piss off Democrats?
Yeah.
Or does he genuinely see a problem?
He doesn't have anything better to do? Isn't there stuff we needed? Listen, Newt, you and I have known each other a long time. And when a giant 6-foot white guy says, I'm being lynched here, you understand why it's a little bit like, listen, man, you're not being lynched here. You are being held to the standard that we hold we're supposed to be holding every president. So I don't understand, does it not bother you when he says the fake constitution? What did he call it?
He's called it a phony emoluments clause.
Phony emoluments
which is in the Constitution.
I mean, we can disagree. I've never questioned your commitment to America, whether I agreed with it or not. But you've never pooped on the Constitution, as far as I can recall.
No, I think it's very important. But look, okay, again, you won't agree, but you have Steve Schiff as chairman of a committee.
Wait, I know you're going to go to Steve, but I'm asking you about this.
I mean, you've asked me to explain Trump.
No, I know. You don't have to explain him to me.
Yeah. I
think she's asking in particular, you have a white man using the term lynching. You mentioned Clarence Thomas.
Well,
by my last count, he's a black man using it.
But
I don't think he should have used it there either.
Right.
But
okay, I'm
this
going to
is
be
racially
very
charged
politically incorrect.
language.
I'm going to be very politically incorrect. Most of the early American movies on lynching were about lynching white people. One of the largest lynchings in the 19th century was Italians.
Yes.
So there is a tradition here. It's not an automatically
But 90% of the people sitting here, you know, it may not be a totally black experience, but we're kind of the only folks that didn't come out from under the experience that was put on us, as you well know. Italian folks have, you know, were allowed and welcomed to work in ways that we were not. But my point is,
And it's unique black experience in this country.
It's not a good.
No, it's not. Those Italians were lynched
It's a different
here.
experience for black folks.
My point
in this
is,
country.
it wasn't necessary for him to say that.
No, it wasn't.
You know,
No.
and so would you say that his choice of words was not smart?
I think he often uses words more clumsily than he should.
Not the question.
Well, I thought I answered you pretty directly.
No. You did a good spin, but what do you think? Do you think that's the language he should have used? Yes or no?
I know. Look, I've been comfortable just calling it a witch hunt and a kangaroo court and things like that. I haven't gone up to that next level.
Oh, you were talking about impeachment.
Yeah.
This is so, the thing that has frustrated me the most about the impeachment conversation has been the hypocrisy that you see oftentimes on both sides. But in this case, I think about you, Speaker, specifically because you were in Nancy's seat.
Sure.
And you did go down the impeachment road.
Right.
If you were Nancy today and you had a president that did exactly what Trump did, that was a Democrat, what would you do?
Well, first of all, I'm sitting here trying to be Joy, and now you want me to be Nancy. and all I can tell you is this is getting to be a pretty heavy load to carry psychologically. Look, there are two big differences. The first is we had a report from an independent counsel that said on 11 counts, Bill Clinton was used the word guilty, including perjury, which was a felony. So we were faced with a report. I think had Speaker Pelosi referred the Ukrainian phone call to a special counsel, they could do a lot of things. Second, we actually sent Congressman Jim Rogan to New Jersey to interview Chairman Peter Rodino, who had done the Watergate investigation. And Rodino had a set of rules that were very bipartisan. And we brought him back and we implemented exactly what Rodino did. So, for example, today, the White House doesn't have a lawyer in these hearings. Secretary Pompeo has staff going into a hearing, has no lawyer there, has no idea what they're saying.
But it sounds like you would do similar to what Nancy's doing.
No,
though.
because what she's doing, A, she has no referral that says he's guilty of anything. B, she's not following rules that are fair. I mean, she has no rules here which are fair, which allow the person being accused to face their accuser.
But you admit that it's an abuse of power, though, right? That
On
what
both
he did
sides.
on the phone call, you would admit that
I
what Trump
actually
did
don't.
was...
I went back and reread, because I knew this was going to come up. I reread the exact transcript that was published by the New York Times. I don't think it's an abuse of power.
Then what is? Because when I think about a president's role, if you call a foreign president, you ask them to investigate your opponent in a presidential race.
And look into the DNC server
If that's
as well.
not... No, I'm actually curious. If that's not abuse of power, then what is?
What is exactly what Hillary Clinton's campaign did. Notice the difference. The Clinton campaign paid to create a dossier.
But can we talk about what's going on now?
Hillary, y'all have tried her, you beat her, she's not the president. The man who's the president broke the law.
No,
what the hell?
to go to station.
What do you know? We're not gonna let you spin. Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Did you? Oh, okay.
Hold on.
We'll be right back. Back. Go ahead, Abby.
Yeah. All right. Well, we were just talking about this call with the Ukrainian president. Right. You say it's not an abuse of power and that he didn't do anything illegal. I've heard that from a number of people. So explain where you're coming from in that argument.
Well, I went back before the show and reread the actual conversation. He's asking the brand new reformed president to find out what is the truth. Now, it cannot be a crime to try to find the truth.
Sure.
He did not ask. How can it be a crime to find the truth?
She's going to tell you.
There are certain tribunals that you can go to. There are investigators that you can go to. You can go to your FBI. But you really can't go to a foreign government as the president to seek the truth, because they are not your investigative tool. And Speaker, you know that. You know that.
But in the conversation, he says, I'm going to have the Attorney General call you and work with you.
Yes, the Attorney General should also not be working with a foreign government.
Of course they should.
To investigate a political opponent.
But it's not investigating a political opponent. It's investigating an allegation of corruption.
But he would know that if Biden weren't running for president.
There's no guarantee.
Excuse me while I spin.
You can't announce you're a candidate and then say, therefore, I can't be investigated.
Well, he did.
No, we got to investigate it anyway.
But I
Yes,
That's my point.
by
I mean,
people in this country.
But by the
By
right,
officials in this country.
right way.
And officials in this country,
Yes.
and by a British secret agent, and by a whole series of people in Europe. I mean, the whole effort to smear him was a multinational effort.
What?
Well-
Oh my Lord. Well, okay. So
Okay, I can't do Joy. I'm sorry.
During a cabinet meeting yesterday, you know, who said he's not happy about having to pull out of hosting the G7 at his Miami resort, even if it does violate the Constitution. Here's why.
Many other presidents, there weren't too many really rich presidents, but there were a few, they ran their business. Hey, Obama made a deal for a book. Is that running a business? I'm sure he didn't even discuss it while he was president. Yeah. George Washington was actually considered a very, very rich man at the time. But they ran their businesses. George Washington, they say, had two desks. He had a presidential desk and a business desk. I don't think you people with this phony emoluments clause, and by the way, I would say that it's cost me anywhere from $2 to $5 billion to be president.
You know what? But, you know, that's why they say when you take this job, you cut everything else loose until you leave the job. Everyone has done this. Now, I don't know about Obama's book, but I know that he made the deal after he left the White House. So stop bringing up Obama. And you're saying it's true George Washington had two desks. I thought you just said.
No. I mean, first of all, Washington did run Mount Vernon while he was a commanding general.
What year?
From 1775.
Okay. And when was the emoluments clause?
No, but he also did it as president, having helped write the emoluments clause. But the emoluments clause is about money from a foreign government.
From other governments.
But here's the point.
Not Dubai or Scotland.
This is what I don't understand about the president. This was just a dumb idea.
Yeah.
I mean, don't try to defend it.
Yeah.
You could say, oh, hi, we're going to have a meeting of 7 major countries on my golf course.
Yes.
And not have everybody else in the country go, what? I mean, it was just one of those things where...
So who's around him then? This is what I do wonder, because you know this. It's so important to have a team of people that you can trust. When you have an idea like that, to run it by someone to say, does this sound crazy? And they come back and say, do not do it.
Or is this criminal?
So you think he ran this by people and they said, don't do it.
I think people close to him said, this is not going to work. And I hope he will learn from that 3 days.
But are they saying it's unconstitutional?
Well, no, they just said it's just not. It's impossible in public relations terms to have some guy who's a billionaire explain that he's going to have 7 countries at his golf course.
If he's the president of the United States. No. This guy is held to a different thing when you're the president. You can't just do anything you want to. That's what the Constitution is there for. Don't be stopped.
Whether it's a liberal Democrat, conservative, as a president, the idea that a president who's going to be the host of this thing. I mean, Reagan hosted it at Williamsburg, a historic site. I think George Bush hosted it down at Sea Island, which is also a historic site.
And a beautiful place.
Yeah.
But Republicans are pushing back. They pushed back on Syria, and then they
should
pushed back on Israel. I do wonder if this impeachment has changed the dynamics a little bit, where they feel that they hold more of the cards and they can push back on the president. They can say, if you don't hold us back, then we have the power to put up a vote on impeachment.
Yeah,
you think that's changed anything?
No, I don't think that's what moved. I think what moved it is they finally had several things in a row that they just deeply disagreed with. That work. The Congress ought to have independent judgment. I thought they were exactly right to push back, and I was delighted that the pressure was large enough that he dropped the idea of having something at Doral.
Speaker, do you think it started, you said several things in a row, do you think it started with the Kurds, with leaving our allies?
I think it's been building for weeks and weeks, and different people have been disliking things. I think that in the case of Syria, if he had invited in the leadership, had a conversation, explained what he was doing, he would have gotten 20% of the resistance. People don't run for office and get to be a House member and a senator to wake up in the morning and have a big surprise.
Yeah.
They go, particularly if you're a senior leader. I mean, if you're McConnell or you're Lindsey Graham or you're somebody who's the head of a major committee, you sort of think you ought to be, Lyndon Johnson used to say, I want to be in on the takeoff if you want me to be in on the landing.
Right.
And I think that the president would do himself a lot of good to consult with people a lot more.
Again, having a
and not
team
make
around you.
random decisions.
And listening to the people that you hire to
It feels
give you
very
advice.
impulsive. Everything feels
including
Not to mention the troops on the
can't run a
ground. When
country
you get
that
up
way.
in the morning, you've got the Kurds that are holding up their phone in your face, reading tweets saying, you're leaving us. We are stranded here by ourselves.
Yeah.
Everyone was surprised by this.
That's right.
That's
I think
hard for everybody.
It's always a mistake to surprise people, and you can't run a team if you don't know first of all, you don't know what game you're playing, and second, if you don't know what the play is.
True that. We'll be right back.
Thanks. So get to viewyourdeal.com now.
Now, welcome back.